Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window of his ship, watching the stars drift past. The UES Meridian was humanity's newest and most advanced vessel, built specifically for this moment. Today would mark the first official meeting between humans and an alien species that had contacted them 6 months ago. The Zephyrians had sent a simple message to Earth. They wanted to meet. They called themselves an empire and claimed to control hundreds of worlds across their part of the galaxy. What made them truly special, according to their message, was their ability to speak mind to mind without words. Jake turned away from the window and walked toward the bridge. His crew was busy preparing for the meeting. Everyone knew how important this day would be for humanity. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Zephyrian ship," said Lisa Park, his communications officer. She was young but brilliant with languages. If anyone could figure out how to talk to aliens, it would be her. "Put it through," Jake said, settling into his captain's chair. The main screen flickered and showed the inside of an alien ship. The being on the screen was tall and thin, with pale silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Its head was longer than a human's, and its large dark eyes took up much of its face. When it spoke, the words came through a translation device. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Meridian. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire. We approach your location now. Are you prepared for the greeting ceremony?" Jake leaned forward. "We are ready, Ambassador. What does this ceremony involve?" "Among our people, true communication happens through the joining of minds. To establish trust and friendship between our species, I must touch your thoughts and read your intentions. This is how we have greeted new species for thousands of your years." Dr. Ryan Cole, the ship's medical officer, stepped closer to Jake's chair. "Captain, we don't know what this mind reading might do to you." Jake looked at his crew. They had trained for this mission for 2 years. Earth's leaders had made it clear that establishing good relations with the Zephyrians was crucial. These aliens had technology far beyond anything humans possessed. They could travel between stars in days instead of months. Their ships were powered by energy sources humans couldn't even understand. "We came here to make contact," Jake said finally. "If this is how they do business, then we'll do it their way." Lisa Park pulled up files on her computer. "Captain, from what we've learned about their society, refusing this ceremony would be considered a grave insult. They might even see it as an act of war." The Zephyrian ambassador continued speaking. "We have studied your species from a distance. Your minds appear different from any we have encountered. You seem to lack the psychic abilities that most intelligent species possess. This makes us curious about you." "Psychic abilities?" Jake asked. "The power to speak mind to mind, to share thoughts and feelings without words. Every species we know has this gift to some degree. Some are stronger, some weaker, but all possess it. You humans appear to have none at all. This is why we wish to study your thoughts more closely." Dr. Cole frowned. "So they think we're mentally deficient?" "Not deficient," the ambassador replied, apparently having heard the comment through the translation system. "Simply different. Perhaps even unique. This is why the ceremony is so important. We must understand what kind of beings you truly are." An hour later, the Zephyrian ship docked with the Meridian. Jake watched through security monitors as 3 tall figures in flowing robes stepped aboard his vessel. They moved with an odd grace, as if they were floating rather than walking. Ambassador Veltar was even more impressive in person. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, and his silver skin seemed to glow with its own inner light. The 2 beings with him were younger and shorter, but still much taller than any human. The meeting was set to take place in the ship's main conference room. Jake entered with Dr. Cole and Lisa Park, along with Security Chief Danny Brooks and several other crew members. The Zephyrians were already waiting, standing perfectly still with their large eyes closed. "Are they sleeping?" Danny whispered. "I believe they're communicating with each other telepathically," Lisa whispered back. Ambassador Veltar opened his eyes and looked directly at Jake. "Captain Morrison, are you ready to begin the ceremony? I must warn you that some species find the experience overwhelming at first." "I will try to be gentle," Jake nodded. "I'm ready." The ambassador gestured to a chair in the center of the room. "Please sit here. I will place my hand upon your forehead and open my mind to yours." The connection should last only a few moments. Jake sat down and tried to relax. His crew formed a circle around him, ready to help if something went wrong. The 2 younger Zephyrians stood behind their ambassador, their eyes glowing with a faint light. "Remember, Dr. Cole said quietly. If you feel any pain or discomfort, tell us immediately. Ambassador Veltar approached slowly. His three-fingered hand was longer than a human hand, with skin that felt cool and smooth. Do not be afraid, Captain. I have done this ceremony thousands of times with hundreds of species. There has never been any permanent harm. The ambassador closed his eyes and placed his palm against Jake's forehead. For a moment, nothing happened. Jake felt the cool touch of the alien's skin, but that was all. Then Ambassador Veltar's eyes snapped open. His elegant features twisted into an expression of shock and terror. His hand began to shake against Jake's forehead, and his breathing became rapid and shallow. Ambassador? Jake asked. Are you all right? The alien's response was a sound unlike anything the humans had ever heard. It started as a low moan, but quickly rose to a piercing scream that seemed to come from the depths of his being. The sound was so loud and so alien that several crew members covered their ears. Ambassador Veltar stumbled backward, his hand still reaching toward Jake as if he couldn't control his own movements. His silver skin flickered with strange patterns of light and shadow. His large eyes rolled back in his head, and he collapsed to the floor with a heavy thud. The two younger Zephyrians immediately moved to defensive positions, their eyes blazing with bright light. They began speaking rapidly in their own language, their voices filled with panic and anger. What did you do to him? One of them shouted through the translation device. Dr. Cole rushed forward with his medical scanner, checking both Jake and the fallen ambassador. Danny Brooks moved between the angry aliens and his captain, his hand on his weapon. Jake stood up slowly, completely unaffected by whatever had happened. I didn't do anything, he said, staring down at the unconscious alien. I didn't feel anything at all. The conference room fell into tense silence after Ambassador Veltar collapsed. Dr. Cole knelt beside the unconscious alien, running his medical scanner over the still form. The device beeped and flashed, showing readings that made no sense for human physiology. His brain activity is off the charts, Dr. Cole said, frowning at his scanner. I've never seen patterns like this. It's like his mind is caught in some kind of storm. The two younger Zephyrians stood rigid, their eyes still glowing with that strange inner light. The female, who seemed to be the senior of the two, stepped forward. Her voice came through the translator with barely controlled anger. I am Kesara, second to the ambassador. You will explain what your captain has done to our leader. Jake held up his hands peacefully. I promise you I did nothing. I just sat here. I didn't even feel anything when he touched me. Impossible, the male Zephyrian said. No mind can resist the ambassador's probe. He is one of our strongest telepaths. He has read the minds of beings from 100 different worlds. Danny Brooks kept his hand near his weapon but tried to stay calm. Maybe there was some kind of accident. Some kind of equipment malfunction? Kesara turned her large dark eyes toward him. We use no equipment for mind reading. This is a natural ability of our people. The ambassador simply opened his consciousness to your captain's thoughts. Something in that human mind attacked him. Dr. Cole looked up from his scanner. Captain, your vital signs are completely normal. Heart rate, brain activity. Everything looks exactly like it did before the ceremony. Whatever happened, it didn't affect you at all. Lisa Park had been quietly recording everything. Now she stepped forward with her tablet. Kesara, can you tell us exactly what's supposed to happen during this ceremony? Maybe if we understand the process better, we can figure out what went wrong. The young alien looked at her companions, and Jake noticed they seemed to be communicating without words. Their eyes flickered with light for a few seconds before Kesara turned back to the humans. When our people make mental contact with another being, we open our minds to theirs. We can read surface thoughts, emotions, intentions. Usually the other being's mind is like a calm lake. We can see to the bottom, understand what they are thinking and feeling. With your captain, she paused, looking down at the unconscious ambassador. What happened with my captain? Jake asked. The ambassador described it to us before he lost consciousness. He said your mind was not like a calm lake. It was like trying to drink from a waterfall during a storm. Too much, too fast, too chaotic. Dr. Cole finished his examination of Ambassador Veltar. He's stable, but he's definitely in some kind of shock. His brain is showing activity I've never seen before. It's almost like he's experiencing every emotion at once. The male Zephyrian, who had introduced himself as Telvin, moved closer to his fallen leader. This has never happened before. In all our history of contact with other species, no one has ever overwhelmed one of our telepaths. Most beings cannot even resist our mental probes. Maybe that's the problem, Lisa said thoughtfully. You said we appear to have no psychic abilities at all. Maybe that's not because we're weak. Maybe it's because we're different in some other way. Kessara looked at her with surprise. Different how? I don't know yet. But think about it. If every other species you've met has telepathic abilities and you can read their minds easily, maybe their minds work in a similar way to yours. Maybe human minds work completely differently. Jake sat back down in the chair where the ceremony had taken place. What if you tried again, but more carefully this time? With better preparation? Absolutely not, Dr. Cole said firmly. We don't know what this kind of contact might do to you. But the ambassador said it didn't hurt me at all, Jake pointed out. I'm fine. He's the one who got hurt. Danny Brooks shook his head. Captain, we can't risk it. What if the next attempt is stronger? What if it does something to your brain that we can't detect? Kessara had been listening to their conversation with growing interest. Your captain is correct. The mental contact cannot harm him. It can only harm the telepath who attempts to read his mind. But I must warn you, what happened to Ambassador Veltar could happen to any of us who tries. Then how are we supposed to communicate? Jake asked. How can we build trust between our species if this ceremony is impossible? Televan spoke up. There might be another way. I am much less skilled than the ambassador, but I could attempt a very light contact, just barely touching the surface of your thoughts. It would not give us the deep understanding we usually seek, but it might be safer. Dr. Cole immediately objected. I don't like this idea at all. Lisa Park had been making notes on her tablet. Actually, it might be our best option. If we're going to work with the Zephyrians, we need to understand why this happened, and they need to understand us. Ambassador Veltar began to stir on the floor. His eyes opened slowly and he looked around the room with confusion. When he saw Jake, he actually flinched and tried to move away. Ambassador, Kessara said, kneeling beside him. How do you feel? Veltar spoke in his own language for several minutes. Even without translation, the humans could hear the fear and amazement in his voice. Finally, he switched to the common tongue. Captain Morrison, I must apologize. I was not prepared for what I found in your mind. What did you find? Jake asked gently. The ambassador struggled to sit up with help from his companions. Your thoughts? They never stop. Layer upon layer upon layer. When I touched your mind, I expected to find a single stream of consciousness, like all other species possess. Instead, I found thousands of streams all flowing at once. Dr. Cole leaned forward with interest. Thousands? Your mind processes information in ways I have never encountered. Where other beings think one thought at a time, you think dozens simultaneously. You remember the past while planning the future, while observing the present, while feeling emotions about all of it at the same time. The complexity was overwhelming. Lisa Park's eyes lit up with understanding. That's why we don't have telepathic abilities. Our minds are too complex for simple thought sharing. We can't read other minds because our own minds are too busy. Kessara looked fascinated despite her earlier anger. This could explain many things about your species. Your rapid technological development, your creative arts, your ability to adapt to new situations. If your minds truly work this way, you can make connections and solve problems that we cannot. Ambassador Veltar slowly got to his feet, still looking shaken. I have experienced the minds of hundreds of species. Some are simple, some are complex, but all follow patterns I could understand. Your mind, Captain, follows no pattern at all. It is beautiful and terrifying. Jake didn't know how to respond to that. So what happens now? Can our species still work together? The ambassador looked at his companions, and again Jake saw that silent communication pass between them. Finally, Veltar turned back to the humans. This changes everything we thought we knew about consciousness itself. We cannot return to our people with a simple report of first contact. We must study this phenomenon further. What kind of study? Danny asked suspiciously. With your permission, we would like to attempt more careful contact with other members of your crew. We need to understand if all humans possess this mental complexity, or if Captain Morrison is unique among your people. Dr. Cole crossed his arms. And if we refuse? Then we return to our empire with a report that humans are too dangerous for normal diplomatic contact, Kessara said honestly. Our leaders would likely quarantine your entire species. The room fell silent as the humans considered this ultimatum. Jake looked at his crew, seeing the mixture of fear and curiosity in their faces. The choice was clear. Cooperate with the aliens' research or risk having humanity cut off from the rest of the galaxy forever. 3 hours had passed since Ambassador Veltar's collapse. The Zephyrians had been given guest quarters to rest and recover, while Jake held an emergency meeting with his senior staff in the captain's ready room. "I don't like it," Danny said for the 3rd time. "We're talking about letting aliens experiment on our minds. What if something goes wrong?" Dr. Cole nodded in agreement. "We have no idea what long-term effects this telepathic contact might have." The ambassador was unconscious for over an hour. Lisa Park had been studying the recordings of everything that had happened. "But did you hear what they said? Our minds might be fundamentally different from every other species they've encountered. This could be the key to understanding why humans develop so quickly compared to other civilizations." "Or it could be complete nonsense," Danny replied. "Maybe they're just not as powerful as they claim to be." Jake leaned back in his chair thinking. The way the ambassador described it, though, thousands of thought streams all at once, that actually makes sense when I think about how my mind works. Right now I'm listening to this conversation, but I'm also thinking about our mission, wondering what's for dinner, remembering something my daughter said last week, and planning our next move with the Zephyrians. Dr. Cole looked surprised. "All at the same time? Aren't you?" Jake asked. "Isn't everyone?" The doctor paused, considering. "Well, yes, I suppose so. I just never thought about it that way." Lisa stood up suddenly, excited. "That's exactly the point. We think it's normal because it's how human minds work. But what if it's not normal? What if other species really do think one thought at a time in straight lines?" "There's only one way to find out," Jake said. "We need to continue the experiments." Dr. Cole shook his head. "Captain, I have to recommend against this. The risks are too great." "The risks of not doing it are greater," Jake replied. "If we refuse to cooperate, they'll report back that humans are dangerous. Earth could be cut off from galactic civilization before we even get started." A chime sounded, indicating someone was requesting entry. "Come in," Jake called. Cassara entered the room, moving with that strange floating grace all Zephyrians seemed to possess. "Captain Morrison, I hope I am not interrupting." "Not at all. Please, sit down." Jake gestured to an empty chair, though he noticed the alien remained standing. "I wanted to speak with you privately about our situation," Cassara said. "I have been in contact with my people, and they are very interested in what happened today. They are sending more ships to study this phenomenon." Danny immediately looked alert. "More ships? How many?" "Only 3 vessels with scientific equipment and additional telepaths. But I wanted to assure you that they come in peace. We are not preparing for war." "That's good to know," Jake said. "What exactly do they want to study?" Kessara's large eyes focused on him intently. "They want to understand how human consciousness works. In all our thousands of years of space travel, we have never encountered minds like yours. Most species we meet are either less telepathically developed than we are, or more developed. You are something entirely different." Lisa leaned forward with interest. "Different how exactly?" "Our telepathic abilities work because most minds think in orderly patterns. Even emotions follow predictable paths. When we make mental contact, we can follow these patterns like reading a book. But human minds..." She paused, as if searching for the right words. "It is like trying to read 1,000 books at once, all written in different languages with the pages scattered by a hurricane." Dr. Cole frowned. "That sounds like a description of mental illness, not normal human thought." "That is what makes it so fascinating," Kessara replied. "What we would consider severe mental disorder, you have turned into your greatest strength. Your chaotic thought patterns allow you to make connections we never could. You solve problems by thinking of solutions that would never occur to us." Jake was beginning to understand. So when other species encounter a problem, they think through it step by step? Exactly. We consider all available information, analyze it logically, and reach a conclusion. It is efficient and reliable. But you humans seem to approach problems from dozens of angles simultaneously. You consider logical solutions, emotional responses, creative alternatives, past experiences, and future possibilities all at the same time. And that's why we develop technology so quickly, Lisa said, her excitement growing. We're not smarter than other species, we're just thinking about things in a completely different way. Cassara nodded. This is what our scientists believe. It would explain many things about your species that puzzled us. Your rapid advancement, your diverse cultures, Your ability to adapt to new situations. Danny still looked skeptical. If human minds are so chaotic, how do we function at all? How do we make decisions? That is one of the great mysteries we hope to solve, Kesara admitted. From our perspective, your minds should collapse under the weight of so much simultaneous processing. Yet somehow you not only function but thrive. Dr. Cole had been thinking during this conversation. If what you're saying is true, then telepathic contact with humans would always be dangerous for your people. Not necessarily, Kesara said. With proper preparation and protective techniques, we believe we can make limited contact safely. But it will require volunteers from your crew who are willing to participate in careful experiments. Jake made his decision. I'll volunteer again. Captain, no, Dr. Cole protested. We still don't know what effects this might have on you. But I'm the one who's already made contact, Jake pointed out. If anyone's going to do this, it should be me. Kesara looked uncertain. Actually, Captain, we were hoping to test our theories with different members of your crew. We need to know if all humans possess this mental complexity, or if some are different from others. Lisa raised her hand. I'll volunteer. Absolutely not, Danny said immediately. Lisa, you're too valuable to risk. I'm also the best qualified, she replied. I understand language and communication better than anyone else on this ship. If we're going to bridge the gap between our species, I need to understand how their telepathy works. Dr. Cole looked around the room at his crewmates. This is insane. We're talking about letting aliens probe our minds when we have no idea what the consequences might be. The consequences of not doing it are worse, Jake said firmly. If we don't cooperate, humanity could be isolated from the rest of the galaxy. We can't let that happen, Kesara stepped forward. Perhaps we can compromise. I am less skilled than Ambassador Veltar, but I can attempt very gentle contact. Just touching the surface thoughts, nothing deeper. It would be much safer for both the human volunteer and for me. What would you be looking for? Lisa asked. We want to understand the structure of human thought. How do you manage to think so many things at once? How do you choose which thoughts to act upon? How do you maintain sanity with such mental complexity? Jake looked at Dr. Cole. What do you think, Doctor? Could you monitor the procedure to make sure it's safe? Dr. Cole sighed deeply. I suppose I could set up monitoring equipment for both the volunteer and the alien. At the first sign of trouble, we stop immediately. Agreed, Kesara said. I have no wish to experience what happened to the ambassador. We will proceed very carefully. Danny crossed his arms. And if this experiment works, what happens then? Then we begin to understand each other, Kesara replied. Your species and mine could learn much from working together. You could teach us about creativity and adaptation. We could share our technology and knowledge of the galaxy. Lisa smiled. It sounds like the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Let's hope so, Jake said. Because if this goes wrong, it could be the end of everything. Outside the ready room, Ambassador Veltar was slowly recovering from his encounter with the human mind. He sat in his quarters trying to process what he had experienced. In all his years as a telepath, he had never encountered anything like Captain Morrison's consciousness. The human mind was not just complex, it was revolutionary. If his people could learn to understand human thought patterns, it might change Zephyrian civilization forever. But first, they had to find a way to make contact without being overwhelmed by the beautiful chaos of human consciousness. The medical bay had been transformed into something resembling a laboratory. Dr. Cole had set up monitors around a comfortable chair, with screens showing brain activity, heart rate, and other vital signs. Kesara sat across from the chair, her own monitoring equipment provided by the Zephyrians. Lisa Park settled into the chair, trying to look more confident than she felt. So what exactly will happen? Kesara's large dark eyes studied her carefully. I will place my hand on your forehead as the ambassador did with your captain. But this time I will use only the lightest possible touch. Think of it as putting just the tip of my finger into the ocean of your mind, rather than diving in completely. Dr. Cole checked his monitors one final time. Lisa, if you feel any pain, discomfort, or anything unusual at all, tell me immediately. I will, Lisa promised. She looked around the room at her crewmates. Jake stood nearby, ready to help if needed. Danny was positioned by the door, still looking unhappy about the whole situation. Ambassador Veltar watched from a corner, his face showing both curiosity and concern. I must warn you, Kesara said. What I am about to attempt has never been done before. Usually, when we make telepathic contact, we open our minds fully to achieve understanding. Today, I will keep most of my consciousness shielded and protected. Like wearing armor, Lisa said, trying to understand. An excellent comparison. My mind will be heavily armored with only a small opening to touch yours. It should prevent me from being overwhelmed, but it will also limit what I can learn. Dr. Cole nodded to indicate he was ready. All the monitoring equipment showed Lisa's normal, healthy baseline readings. Kessara stood and approached the chair slowly. Her three-fingered hand was smaller than Ambassador Veltar's, and her skin had a slightly blue tint to its silver color. "Are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Lisa replied. The Zephyrian closed her eyes and placed her palm gently against Lisa's forehead. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then Kessara's eyes snapped open, glowing with that inner light the aliens possessed. "Oh," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Lisa felt a strange tingling sensation, like a gentle electric current running through her thoughts. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely unusual. "I can feel something," she said softly. Dr. Cole watched his monitors carefully. Lisa's brain activity was showing increased patterns, but nothing dangerous. "Everything looks normal so far." Kessara began to tremble slightly, but she maintained contact. "It is remarkable," she said, her voice strained with effort. "Even with my shields, I can sense the complexity. Your mind is like a vast city with millions of inhabitants, all talking at once." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Right now, Lisa is thinking about this experiment, but she is also remembering her training at the academy, wondering what her sister is doing back on Earth, analyzing the grammar structure of my speech, and composing a report about today's events, all simultaneously. Lisa blinked in surprise. "That's exactly what I was thinking about." "How did you know?" "I can sense the different streams of thought even if I cannot follow them all. It is like standing at the center of a busy intersection and hearing conversations from every direction." Dr. Cole leaned forward with interest. "This is fascinating. Lisa, are you aware that you're thinking about all those things at once?" Yes, I suppose I am. But isn't that normal?" Kessara shook her head, still maintaining the light contact. "For my people and for every other species we have encountered, consciousness flows in a single stream. We think one thought, complete it, then move to the next thought. We can change topics quickly, but we focus on only one thing at a time." "That sounds incredibly limiting," Lisa said. "And your way sounds incredibly chaotic," Kessara replied. "Yet somehow you make it work. Your parallel processing allows you to consider multiple aspects of a problem simultaneously. You can be logical and creative and emotional all at the same time." Ambassador Veltar stepped closer, his interest overcoming his caution. "What else can you observe about her thought patterns?" Kessara was quiet for a moment, concentrating. Her memories are not stored linearly like ours. They are connected in vast networks of association. When she thinks about one thing, it automatically connects to dozens of related memories and ideas. This creates a web of knowledge that allows for rapid creative connections. "Is that why humans are so good at innovation?" Jake asked. "It must be. When faced with a problem, you do not just consider direct solutions. Your minds automatically explore connections to seemingly unrelated experiences, knowledge, and ideas. This allows you to find solutions that we would never consider." Lisa was beginning to understand something about her own species that she had never realized before. "So when I'm trying to solve a translation problem, I'm not just thinking about the words. I'm also thinking about the culture that uses those words. Similar problems I've solved before, the emotional context of the conversation, and possible alternative meanings." "Exactly," Kessara said. "And you do all of this without conscious effort. For us, such complex analysis would require hours of careful study." Dr. Cole was taking notes rapidly. "This explains so much about human behavior. Our creativity, our adaptability, our ability to handle multiple tasks at once. But it also explains why you develop mental health problems that we do not understand," Kessara added. "With so many thought processes running simultaneously, there are many ways for the system to become unbalanced." Danny spoke up from his position by the door. "Are you saying that human mental illness is caused by having too complex minds?" "Not exactly," Kessara replied carefully. "I believe your mental illnesses occur when the parallel processing becomes disrupted or when the thought streams become tangled. But this same complexity also gives you capabilities we do not possess. Ambassador Veltar moved even closer. Kessara, can you determine if all humans share this mental structure? From this limited contact, it appears that Lisa's mind works similarly to Captain Morrison's, though with different patterns. I would need to test others to be certain, but I suspect all humans share this parallel consciousness to some degree. Lisa felt the tingling sensation beginning to fade. Are we finished? Yes, Kessara said, removing her hand from Lisa's forehead. I dare not maintain contact any longer. Even with my shields, the complexity is overwhelming. Dr. Cole immediately checked all his monitors. Lisa, how do you feel? Fine, she said, standing up from the chair. Actually, better than fine. That was amazing. For a moment, I could sense how Kessara's mind works. It's so organized and peaceful compared to the chaos in my head. Kessara sat down heavily, looking exhausted, and I could sense the incredible richness of human thought. So many ideas flowing and connecting constantly. It is beautiful, but I cannot imagine living with such mental activity. Ambassador Veltar approached his subordinate with concern. Are you injured? No, just tired. The effort of maintaining shields while making contact was enormous. But I learned much. She looked at the humans with new respect. Your species is remarkable. You have turned what we would consider a severe disability into your greatest strength. Jake helped Kessara to a chair. So what happens now? Can our species work together despite these differences? More than work together, Ambassador Veltar said thoughtfully. If we can learn to safely study human consciousness, it could revolutionize our understanding of intelligence itself. And perhaps you could learn from our mental discipline and focus. Lisa nodded enthusiastically. A true exchange of knowledge. You teach us about mental organization and telepathic communication. We teach you about parallel processing and creative thinking. But first, Dr. Cole said, we need to establish protocols to make sure these mental contacts are safe for everyone involved. Kessara looked up with a tired smile. Agreed, we have much work to do. But I believe this could be the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history. Outside the medical bay, the rest of the crew was buzzing with excitement about what they had witnessed. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't telepathically deficient, they were telepathically unique. And that uniqueness might be the key to a new era of cooperation between the species. 2 days later, the UES Meridian was no longer alone in space. 3 Zephyrian research vessels had arrived, each filled with scientists eager to study human consciousness. The main conference room had become a meeting place, where 2 completely different forms of intelligence tried to understand each other. Ambassador Veltar had recovered completely from his overwhelming first contact with Jake's mind. Now he sat across from the human captain, no longer afraid but filled with curiosity and respect. Captain Morrison, I owe you an apology, the ambassador said. When I first touched your mind, I thought something was wrong with you. I now realize that something was wrong with my understanding of consciousness itself. Jake smiled. No apology needed, Ambassador. We've all learned something new about ourselves these past few days. Dr. Cole had spent hours analyzing the data from both telepathic contact sessions. The brain scans show remarkable differences between human and Zephyrian neural patterns. Your minds process information in sequential waves, while ours process it in parallel clusters. Chief Scientist Mordak, the leader of the newly arrived research team, leaned forward with interest. This explains many of the mysteries about human development. Your rapid technological advancement, your diverse art forms, your ability to adapt to new environments. All of these traits stem from your parallel consciousness. Lisa Park had become the primary liaison between the species, having successfully undergone 3 more telepathic sessions with different Zephyrian researchers. What's really interesting is that we're both highly intelligent species, but we're intelligent in completely different ways. How so? Asked Danny, who had gradually warmed up to the idea of working with the aliens. Kessara answered, her voice much stronger now that she had learned to handle limited contact with human minds. Zephyrian intelligence is deep and focused. We can analyze complex problems thoroughly and reach logical conclusions efficiently. Human intelligence is broad and creative. You can consider many aspects of a problem simultaneously and find solutions through unexpected connections. Ambassador Veltar nodded. Neither approach is superior to the other. They are simply different tools for understanding the universe. Dr. Cole looked up from his notes. The medical implications alone are fascinating. Zephyrian telepaths could potentially help humans with certain mental disorders by teaching them to focus their parallel thought streams, and humans might be able to help Zephyrians develop more flexible thinking patterns. But the real breakthrough, said Chief Scientist Mordak, is in how we can combine our different types of intelligence. Zephyrian logical analysis plus human creative thinking could solve problems that neither species could handle alone. Jake leaned back in his chair, thinking about the implications. What would that look like in practice? Lisa's eyes lit up with excitement. Imagine scientific research teams with both humans and Zephyrians. We could approach questions from multiple angles simultaneously. Your people could provide deep systematic analysis while humans contribute creative leaps and unexpected connections. Or diplomatic situations, Ambassador Veltar added. Zephyrian telepaths could read the intentions and emotions of other species, while human diplomats could find creative solutions to complex negotiations. Danny, ever practical, asked the important question. What about the risks? We've seen how dangerous telepathic contact can be. Dr. Cole had been working on this problem with the Zephyrian medical team. We've developed preliminary safety protocols. Limited contact duration, graduated exposure to human thought patterns, and mental shielding techniques adapted for human consciousness. Chief Scientist Mordak pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans from both species. We believe that with proper training, some Zephyrians could learn to navigate human thought patterns without being overwhelmed. Similarly, some humans might be able to learn basic telepathic communication. Really? Lisa asked, fascinated. Humans could develop telepathic abilities? Kessara looked uncertain. Perhaps not in the way our people use telepathy. But you might learn to quiet your parallel processing enough to make simple mental connections. It would require extensive training and meditation techniques. Jake made a decision that would change the course of both species. I think we should establish a joint research facility, somewhere both our peoples can work together safely to explore these possibilities. Ambassador Veltar's large eyes brightened. The Zephyrian Council would be very interested in such a proposal. We could provide a space station in neutral territory, equipped with the best medical and scientific equipment from both our civilizations. And we could provide volunteers from Earth, Jake added. Scientists, doctors, diplomats, artists. People who could benefit from learning about Zephyrian mental discipline, and who could teach you about human creativity. Dr. Cole was already making plans. We'd need extensive safety protocols, medical monitoring, and emergency procedures. But the potential benefits are enormous. Lisa stood up, pacing with excitement. Think about what we could accomplish together. Art that combines Zephyrian telepathic harmony with human emotional complexity. Scientific discoveries that blend logical analysis with creative insight. Diplomatic solutions that no single species could imagine. Danny remained cautious but was beginning to see the possibilities. What about the rest of the galaxy? How will other species react to humans and Zephyrians working together? Chief Scientist Mordak considered this question carefully. Most species in our part of the galaxy are similar to us in their mental structure. The discovery of parallel consciousness will fascinate them. Some may want to study humans as well, and some may see us as a threat, Jake added realistically. A species with chaotic minds might seem dangerous to civilizations built on mental order. Ambassador Veltar spoke with confidence. The Zephyrian Empire will sponsor humanity's introduction to galactic civilization. Our people are respected as scholars and diplomats. If we vouch for human mental stability and intelligence, others will listen. Kessara added. Besides, the practical benefits of human Zephyrian cooperation will speak for themselves. Once other species see what we can accomplish together, they will want similar partnerships. The meeting continued for several more hours, with both sides contributing ideas for how their species could work together. By the end, they had outlined the basic structure for an unprecedented interspecies collaboration. 3 weeks later, Jake stood on the observation deck of Research Station Unity, watching construction crews from both species work together to complete the facility. Human engineers with their creative problem-solving abilities worked alongside Zephyrian technicians with their precise, methodical approach. The combination was producing results faster than either species could have achieved alone. Lisa had become the station's first director of interspecies communication, working with Kessara to develop new methods for safe telepathic contact. Dr. Cole was establishing medical protocols with Zephyrian healers, while Danny headed up a security force trained in both human and alien procedures. Ambassador Veltar joined Jake at the observation window. A remarkable sight, is it not? Two completely different forms of consciousness learning to work as one. It's just the beginning, Jake replied. Once word gets back to Earth about what we've discovered, there will be volunteers lining up to join this program. And when the Zephyrian Empire learns of the benefits, we will have more researchers than we can accommodate, Veltar added. They watched as a human artist worked with a Zephyrian telepath to create a sculpture that responded to viewers' emotions while displaying mathematically perfect proportions. Nearby, a mixed team of scientists was developing new theories about consciousness itself. You know what the strangest part of all this is? Jake asked. What is that? We spent so long wondering if we were alone in the universe. It turns out we weren't alone. We were just thinking differently than everyone else. Ambassador Veltar's expression showed what Jake had learned to recognize as Zephyrian amusement. Perhaps that is humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. You have shown us that there are other ways to think, other ways to be intelligent, other ways to understand existence itself. As they watched, more ships arrived from both civilizations, bringing new volunteers for the growing research program. The accidental discovery that human minds were too complex for normal telepathic contact had become the foundation for the greatest interspecies cooperation in galactic history. The universe, it turned out, was much stranger and more wonderful than either species had ever imagined, and it had taken the overwhelming chaos of human consciousness touching alien telepathy to reveal that truth. In the months that followed, the success of Research Station Unity would inspire similar programs throughout the galaxy. Humanity's unique parallel consciousness became recognized not as a disability or anomaly, but as a new form of intelligence that complemented and enhanced the abilities of other species. The alien telepath, who had screamed and collapsed when touching a human mind, had started a revolution in how the galaxy understood consciousness itself, and at the center of it all was the beautiful, chaotic, impossibly complex storm of human thought that had overwhelmed one alien and changed everything for two entire civilizations.